And so far, we have 179 co-sponsors, both Democrat and Republican, who have signed on to this bill and put their names down there as being actual co-sponsors with Dr. Paul of H.R. 1207. That's almost half of Congress.
Now, is that a pre-vote, or what is that? What does the sponsorship mean here? How many? So I really have two questions here. Is sponsorship an obligation to vote for it, and how many sponsors does a bill typically have?
Okay, I cannot answer the question. Okay, with respect to how many, I cannot answer that with respect to the average. I would imagine this is quite high, and highly unusual. I would consider this to be probably unusual to rare, because what you're saying is, well, let's identify what a co-sponsor is. When you and your friends walk up to an apartment building and your friend John wants to sign a lease to pay the rent, and the rest of his friends say, we'll just stay here for the party. But if they want to co-sponsor, that is, if they want to put their name on the lease and they want to sign their name onto the lease, they are signing themselves. They're putting their name, much like John Hancock and Samuel Adams and the people wrote their names on the Declaration of Independence. They said, I want to be here too. So if they want to be here too, that doesn't not bind them to vote for the bill, but it says, my name is here, my name's on the bill, I'm part of this bill, I will vote for this bill. So this is 179 votes for the bill. If there are 218 votes, the bill will pass the House of Congress of Representatives and move on to the Senate.
So these people who have signed on as sponsors, they've mutually pledged their lives, their property, and their sacred honor to this bill, so to speak.
They have definitely pledged their sacred honor. Okay. To the extent that it is sacred and to the extent that it is honorable. They have pledged their sacred honor to stand with this bill. They've done this, and I'm sure that they're passionate. I'm sure that the co-sponsors of this bill are each and every one very passionate about this. They see the need for transparency here.
How about our local representatives, congressmen, and whatnot, or senators? Or how are they lined up on this?
Well. First, I want to say that I'm extremely pleased and proud of the 179 who have come forward, stepped forward, and stood tall and put their name on the line for transparency in the Federal Reserve. I think this is the time for it. We see Democrats and Republicans. I'm also very pleased and proud to say that Tim Johnson, Representative Tim Johnson, of our local district here, is a co-sponsor. And in fact, Tim Johnson was one of the earlier co-sponsors of this bill. He stood forward, and he stood forward early on this bill and took a stand at an important and crucial time when this bill needed that kind of support. So I would say yes. So we're very, very fortunate to have Tim Johnson as a co-sponsor on 1207.
Yeah. So we've had a little experience with transparency in Urbana, and but the movement has come along quite well now, and even those who seemed to be nervous about it at first seem to be embracing it now, the idea of transparency. And so I think it's really hard to take a stance against transparency in government. It's a tough position to be in, isn't it?
Yes, and that's why we're looking for the other. We need 38 more in order to get the 218 co-sponsors for this bill. And you know, as a matter of co-sponsoring, it's really simply a matter of each and every citizen making a telephone call to your own representative's office in Washington and simply saying, I want a desire to have transparency in the Federal Reserve, and I want you to become, I would just say to her or him, whoever your congressperson is, I want your name on there as a co-sponsor. I want you to stand forward and become a co-sponsor with H.R. 1207. And then you can simply say thank you very much and hang up the phone, and your call counts. You don't have to do very much. You just come up and say, I would like to. And the more people that call in and say, I want to urge my congressperson to be to be a co-signer. I want you to co-sign on this bill here, H.R. 1207, and thank you very much. And that's all you have to say. Have a good day and hang up, and you've done your work. And it's 30 seconds worth of work, and it all adds up. Every single phone call adds up.
So it does do some good?
Oh, that's where these 179 came from. There were a lot of people calling to their representative's office and encouraging them to stand with transparency at the Federal Reserve,
Yeah.
and that's how it happened.
So these people, so the people of the country are rising up, and to some extent, and to ask for transparency.
I think it's evident. I think that the representatives, they themselves look out at their constituents, and they evaluate the situation, and they think that their constituents that want them to do this, and so. Well, 179 of them have stepped forward and said, yes, I want to do this. And some of them have been leaders in doing that, and others have checked with their constituents and found their constituents wanted it. Yes, I would definitely say that this is a reflection of the citizens of the country wanting this transparency.
So do you think that what's happening over at the Federal Reserve now? Are they busily shredding documents over there now? Or?
I doubt it.
I mean, are they shredding documents around the clock, knowing that this is coming? And can they see that? You know, I mean, 179 is the handwriting on the wall. You know, I mean, are they going to be measured, and are they going to be found lacking? You know, are they going to come up short, or are they going to?
They may come out totally clean and totally fine, and that would be wonderful with me. I would be happy to see it. All I want is transparency. I just want the permission to look. I want it put on the record. The American people have a right to know where the money went, and I think that hasn't got anything to do with whether it's skullduggery or whether it's done perfectly. It's just a matter of we want to make it visible. This is a call for visibility. We want the visibility, and I think it'll speak for itself. And whatever the results are, it can only help to improve the situation with respect to how things work. That's why, in fact, if you run a hardware store, you're going to have your books audited once a year in order to help you maintain your financial solvency and so forth. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Well, I've studied monetary policy somewhat, and we've talked about monetary policy here on this program before. And but I feel like that in this case that maybe it's something like if I lived on the farm and used to go fishing, and I'd go back around the barn and I'd turn over some old boards and stuff. And the reason I did that was because I was looking for worms. And so I couldn't see through the board, but I knew that perhaps there was a worm underneath there. And in the case of the Federal Reserve, I guess I really do expect we're going to find a can of worms in there, and opening up. But I don't know if opening this can of worms is going to make us all, if we're all going to be happier, or if we're going to find, So I guess it's pure conjecture at this point, but. Do you have any expectations? I guess I asked this. I'm going to ask you a little bit differently. Are we going to find out where the $9.7 trillion that's off the books, where it went?